We are almost at breaking the record. Almost at breaking the record for the longest government shutdown in American history. The problem with this government shutdown relative to previous ones is that there's something unique here. The Republicans both don't really care about getting it open and also don't really all believe that it's bad that it's closed. You know, like we're in a situation where a bunch of norms have been upended and stuff that used to be taken for granted is no longer being taken for granted. The Republicans are advocating on a platform more or less of open cruelty, let the poor starve. And because of that, the end to SNAP benefits, of course, funding went, ended on Saturday. They haven't really been treating that as the political nuclear bomb that it really is. Now, the Trump administration is providing partial funding for SNAP after being forced to by a judge. We'll talk about that in a second. But I have been seeing a bunch of GOP-aligned content creators who have been talking about SNAP benefits more or less like this guy. Have you seen this video? Have you seen this video? Here. This guy with the Christ hoodie, you know, he's got a cross on it. When the grocery aisle are so full, since the EBT shoppers at home crying. And I'm going to mute it because, you know, there's copyrighted music, the only thing that can stop me. But here we have this Christ-loving, Jesus saves man dancing that 40 million Americans, a significant number of which are children, are going to be going hungry. I hate him so much. Yeah, they're demon people. They're not like us, you know? And a lot of Republicans are openly cheering this, which, by the way, I think phenomenal strategy politically. Is this not satire? No. Bro, it's Costco. It's always full. I do especially like the fact this is being done at a Costco because one of the biggest arguments that people make against SNAP is like, oh, the poor black people are buying lobsters. And it's like, this is Costco. This is as cost effective as it gets, you know? You don't go to Costco to buy, you know, fancy pants shit. You go there to buy like 24 packs of bagels. Yeah, pallets of food, you know? It's not exactly like wasteful. If anything, it's the most ruthlessly efficient way you can get your dang groceries. But we don't want the poors to have those anyway. I've seen a bunch of Republicans on social media who have been essentially arguing that it's good the SNAP benefits have ended because it's good that people are suffering. If they can't pay for their food, they can't pay for their food, and that's that. This isn't surprising. The online wing of the Republican Party has been based on vice signaling for a while now. You know, it's not like this is new. It's just like now we're seeing it borne out very, very clearly in real life politics. Somebody has linked a Reddit video.
Looks like all you EBT holders, if you want to go in and take shit that you think is yours. Good luck, because chances are you'll never get EBT again. Which is
this is incredible. These are like Tumblr mannerisms. 10 years ago, this woman would have been like super hulak posting.
Assistant. It is not income to help you survive so you could be lazy or go buy lotto tickets, cognac, weed, casino, Temu, go shopping.
I hate it when people spend their SNAP benefits on weed and gambling. You know, they just cash them in for poker chips.
Fake bags and shoes to look like you actually have money, but you don't because you're living off of other people. You need to go to work. I don't know, all the baby daddies. Stop having babies with them. Apparently, they're not good fighters. They only populating Earth with them. Go get on paper, which means
it's Tumblr Gerblin posting. It is for the glory of the Gerblin Empire. Incorporate. You all know what I'm talking about, right? You know, I couldn't even begin to guess at the gender. But you know the individual of whom I'm speaking. Yeah.
Stop selling drugs. Pack your weed up. I don't know. Figure out a better system. This ain't nobody owes you a damn thing.
I can barely understand her. She should speak English. I have no idea what you're talking about. For the glory of the Gerblin Empire. The edit cuts PMO. Yeah, well, you know. These people are crazy. I think she's just racist. Most of the shit she said there was racially loaded, you know? Tired of all these urban thugs using their EBT cards to buy snapbacks and sagging jeans and rap music. Oh, I know. Have you seen the AI-generated rage bait videos of black women being mad their EBT cards don't have money? Yes, I've seen. Yes. It's this whole, a bunch of people. Now that AI videos are basically indistinguishable from reality unless you're willing to, like, investigate them, you know? people are faking a bunch of videos.
What you mean it ain't working? Run it again. This is my food. I need this food.
Ma'am, it keeps declining. It says the account's inactive.
EBT. Y'all just gonna let me starve? I got kids
let's
at
step to the
home.
side and see what's going on, okay?
I like that this woman's face mask is like a beak, you know? It's like a plague doctor mask. Maybe she got the one toothpick, you know, so it's like propping up the bottom of the mask. You know what I'm talking about? Goes hard. I don't think it would be a very effective mask, that shape, you know, kind of leave like the underside of the face hole open, but you know. The point that I'm getting at essentially is that the strategy for the Republicans right now is basically, we like it when people suffer and starve. Let's make sure our base believes the only people suffering and starving are like the blacks, you know? As long as our base believes that this is hurting black people, they will accept some harm. Which, by the way, has always been how racism works as a political bid in this country, you know? It's always been that way. You just need to convince white people they're suffering less. Yeah. The LBJ quote: if you can convince the dumbest white man he's better than the highest black man. Yeah, et cetera, et cetera. You know, it's not exactly a new strategy, but oh man, they really, really want people to be squeezed, don't they? USDA tells grocery stores not to give discounts to customers. Has told grocery stores not to give special discounts to around 42 million Americans who use food stamps. You cannot treat SNAP EBT customers differently than any other customer. Yes, they can. Those are private businesses. They can do whatever they want. They can absolutely do that. They can do that. Like they're like, it's the overreaching to try to control corporations, to intimidate them into doing the politically disadvantageous thing that they think disproportionately hurts black people. And sure, there are a lot of black people who benefit from, SNAP, but it's not a majority. It's not like, 90% of the people using EBT cards are black. Huge number of white people who do. Hispanic, whatever. Maybe even some Asians, if you can believe it. But it doesn't matter, as long as they believe other groups of people are suffering more. Now, you'll forgive me for not being so informed myself, because I've been out of the loop a little bit. This is just from today. I would like to know what exactly is happening with the food stamp funding. The only thing that I know is that the government has set aside $6 billion that it could use to fund SNAP, and is meant to in case of a government shutdown. That's the point of the money being set aside. In case of a government shutdown or an emergency, you pull from that. And the Trump administration has refused to do so because they hate life and they love death. But a judge has ruled the Trump administration must use that money. And in response, the Trump administration has said they'll use it partially, but haven't been providing the details, or they said they'll partially fund it. So that's what I want to know more about, if there's any information on that. Again, I can't overstate just how bad this is for them politically. We're talking about, leave aside like the human suffering angle, tens of millions of Republicans or people related to Republicans not being able to afford groceries.
We start this afternoon with breaking news in the shutdown fight after two major legal decisions. The White House saying it will be providing some food stamp benefits this month. Only half, though, of what SNAP recipients usually see.
Those benefits are, of course, usually deposited into accounts on the first of the month and were skipped because of the shutdown. Two judges last Friday ruling that the White House must provide these benefits with money from a contingency fund. Let's go to CNN's Elena Treen, who is live at the White House. Elena, what are we learning here?
Yeah, well, what we're seeing now from these court rulings today is that the Trump administration will provide partial funding to continue one of the nation's largest, or I should say the largest, food stamp programs in the country. Now, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which oversees the SNAP program, had initially said that they were going to be freezing the money that goes to SNAP, essentially, on November 1st. Of course, this comes during the government shutdown. They said they were running out of money, but But because these two judges had ruled that the Trump administration had to keep this program going, now we're learning that they are going to, and they said in a sworn statement, the agency is going to use roughly $4.6 billion from a contingency fund to help keep this up and running. Now, $4.6 billion is only about half of the money that is needed to keep this operating full time. So we're still looking at what this could mean once we hit that point. And to be clear, again, this is the nation's largest food program. It serves about 1 in 8 Americans, and of course is a major part of America's social safety net. And so this has been one of the key issues and concerns really as this government shutdown has continued. But now we're seeing they're going to pull on this contingency fund to at least pay for half of the money that they would normally during this time.
And Elena, during tomorrow's off-year elections, several key races could give us sort of a glimpse of how people feel about the economy and of course, the administration. New polling, though, shows that voters may not be impressed with President Trump. The data finds he's hitting his lowest approval rating this term, just 37%, his highest disapproval, matching January 2021. Democrats also showing a very early
What happened in January 2021 that made Trump so unpopular?
advantage when it comes to potentially flipping Congress in next year's midterms.
Yeah!
What is behind these numbers?
Why can't they filter for that, man? Come on. I never get these blips from Fox. Well, no, that's not true. It's a couple of times I've got it from Fox. I just feel is it that difficult to run a pass through the audio of the thing you're uploading to YouTube? It wouldn't take long.
Yeah, well, one of the really interesting things about all of this, Boris and Brianna, is that, White Houses normally shrug off these type of disapproval ratings, these poll numbers. But what we've seen the president do is actually entrench himself even deeper in some of the issues that this polling shows from CNN that Americans disagree with him on. For example, I would take immigration enforcement across the country. A majority of Americans, 57% in the CNN survey, said that they believe the Trump administration is going too far with its immigration enforcement. And the president was actually talking about this last night when he appeared on 60 Minutes for an interview with Norah O'Donnell. And he said actually that he believes his administration is not going far enough. Of course, this comes, as we know, there's been a lot of uptick and criticism over the way that ICE has been handling some of these procedures, including, breaking glass as they try to get into cars, their use of tear gas, the list goes on. So that's one area where we saw the president really dig in. Another is the government shutdown. We're seeing in these polls that Republicans and the president are taking a lot of the blame, facing a lot of the political heat on this. But the president is still digging himself in deeper, saying it's up to the Democrats to open this. And he even brought up the idea of getting rid of the filibuster, essentially eradicating this precedent and trying to end the shutdown without any Democratic support. And so as we look at these numbers, 63% disapproval, you mentioned it, but that is a higher disapproval rating than he did have actually when he left office during his first term.
Elena Train, live force at the White House. Thank you so much.
New today, the Trump administration says it will tap into a contingency fund to pay 50% of food stamp benefits in November. Last week, 2 federal judges ordered the administration to use those emergency funds for roughly 42 million SNAP recipients. But now there are significant questions about when the payments will go out.
I have
those
questions.
Filing, the U.S. Department of Agriculture said, quote,
Ma'am?
for at least some states, USDA's understanding is that the system changes states must implement to provide the reduced benefit amounts will take anywhere from a few weeks to up to several months.
Holy shit. Oh, yeah, man. Just a casual 3-month delay. How long is the government going to be frozen? The government's never going to reopen. Oh, my God. Yeah, how often do you need to eat anyway? How often are you guys eating? Rice and beans, man. How long do you really think they can keep it up? It's just that, as somebody in chat earlier pointed out, poor Democrats in not just Democrats, people in blue states, the blue states are trying to use state money to supplement SNAP. But a lot of red states are either too poor or politically unwilling to provide any money to help SNAP themselves, So, the effects of this are going to be even more disproportionate between blue and red states. It's unbelievable. It's not going to lead to widespread starvation. It's just going to lead to a lot of food insecurity. SNAP benefits aren't super significant. It's going to lead to a lot of strained budgets, people getting into debt. Not like outright, people dying of starvation. There's still plenty of food out there. Bread lines.
Months. With us now to discuss, we have Democratic Congresswoman Sarah McBride of Delaware. Congresswoman, that is a dire warning there. First off, do you think this shutdown could go through Thanksgiving?
Well, I certainly hope not. I am down in Washington, D.C. Today and this week, ready to work with colleagues to reopen government to solve this healthcare crisis and to guarantee that there are not disruptions in critical programs like SNAP. Unfortunately, congressional Republicans continue to be on vacation. They are nowhere to be seen. I hope we can reopen government before Thanksgiving. I hope we reopen government tomorrow and do so in a bipartisan and compassionate way. While I'm glad that we will see at least some federal funding move forward during this shutdown for SNAP, this was a choice that Donald Trump made, that Republicans made, to call into question this life-saving benefit. And they are now only partially moving forward with funding because their hands have been forced by the courts. The cruelty has been the point throughout.
How the have liberals been so insanely weak that it's come to this? The thing that they're missing most in this moment is moral denunciation. They still talk like Trump and the Republicans are failing to properly address the situation or like incompetently managing the government, when in reality they're demons who are inflicting suffering on people for funsies. People need a compelling narrative. People need a reason to support your cause. And they're not going to do it because they think that Donald Trump and the rest of his cabinet are like, I don't know, misinformed on what they're doing. She did just say the cruelty is the point. Yes, and I think that's true. Though I would like it if their tone matched the sentiment a little bit, right? Like, if you are a Democratic politician and you have correctly adopted the messaging that Republicans are just out there to hurt people for its own sake, I feel like you need to find a way to hit that messaging hard and consistent. I mean, you should be screaming that from the rooftops. That's a big deal. That's not normal in politics. It's normally people in politics do things that benefit like themselves or their party or the country. There's some kind of like utilitarian give and take there. The idea of a political party tanking the country for no reason or just to hurt people is actually really abnormal. You could like go crazy with that.
This for Donald Trump and congressional Republicans. We continue to be ready to reopen government as soon as humanly possible so federal workers get paid, so that SNAP and other benefits aren't disrupted, and to do so in a way that solves this healthcare crisis that my constituents are already seeing skyrocketing premiums from.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because at this point, open enrollment is underway now. So people signing up for ACA open enrollment is starting to see what insurance costs without the tax credit. As you are relying on pressure from those folks as they make their voices heard, how long does that take? And what if that isn't enough?
Well, I'm already hearing from constituents. I've been hearing from constituents throughout this shutdown that they want to see government open and they want to see us extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. Over this last weekend, millions and millions of Americans went on to healthcare.gov and started to see premiums.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that, by the way, because holy shit.
That in some cases were increasing 100, 200, 300%. And it's incumbent upon those Americans to reach out to their members of Congress to express their outrage at these skyrocketing premiums and to demand that Democrats and Republicans work together to reopen government and extend these ACA premiums. The Republicans have acknowledged that this is an issue. We have even very far right-wing colleagues in the House admitting that this is an issue. I think that's only going to increase as Americans lift their voices. But Republicans ultimately are going to have to listen to the American people and join Democrats at the negotiating tables to solve this crisis. Look, it's on Republicans to figure this out. They control the House, the Senate, and the White House.
No, but let me.
And so I'm not going to sit here
and the Supreme Court.
But in the.
Yeah, we get the sentiment. It seems like, in spite of the judge's order, like the administration is maliciously complying, delaying to take as long with it as they can. Who knows how long it's going to be, man? Who knows? In the most optimistic case, what is the endgame here? I don't think there is an optimistic case anymore. Genuinely, I don't. The government is not reopening tomorrow. At this point, even if the government reopened like immediately, there would still be a pretty big lull in SNAP benefits because it takes a while to get everything back online again. But the government isn't going to open tomorrow. So yeah, things are just going to get worse, and it's incumbent upon us then to remind people as much as is possible who is responsible for all this. Wait, is it for over, like for real this time? Quit being a pussy. It's only over if you stop breathing. Well, what are you on Snap? I mean, maybe you are, you know? Rice and beans, okay? This is politically disadvantageous for their party. Again, they don't have a plan here. Anybody who tries to sell you bullshit like they're deliberately increasing instability and food insecurity as a way of legitimizing like military crackdowns is bullshitting you. They're falling into the trap of believing that there's a plan. Like, all of this must be done for a reason. All of this is happening to achieve some goal. It's not true. They're just evil and they hate you. They don't really know. They just think it's based. All of their decision-making from the administration, it's all around what they think would be based for the most, like, lay epic, hardcore, far-right people who they work with, you know? Is it epic and based for the blacks to not be able to afford their food? Then, yeah, roll it. Doesn't matter how many people get hurt. Roll it. Yeah, epic, epic. It'd be so cucked if we brought Snap back. Cucked, black cucked. That's it. I guarantee you there's nothing more. And you shouldn't be afraid of it. You should be afraid of the whole, like, country falling apart thing, but definitely not of, you know, some kind of coordinated plan from the administration. A lot of it is reactionary. Yeah, that's probably true.